Hello viewers, it's Mr. Holiday, popularly known as Crucia, Economic Department of Dublin Senior High School, author of Economic Gate Simple, which is a past question. I'm coming your way with the meaning of economics as defined by various authors in the field of economics. Now, the objective of this is that by the end of this lesson, the students should be able to explain the meaning of economics defined by various many scholars, and then the terminologies associated with the meaning of the economics. Terminologies such as human behavior, ends, means, alternative uses, choice, scarcity, scale of preference, and opportunity cost, etc. Why do we study economics? Why economics is science and social science? Why do we study economics? Economics has been variously defined by many scholars in many ways. We have people such as Adam Smith, which normally refers to as the father of economics. We have Alfred Marshall, we have John Mills, and then we also have what we call the AC and Co. Then the outstanding definition is being propounded by the Professor Lionel Robbins in his book, The Nature and Significance of Economics. So Lionel Robinson defines economics as the science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce needs. This definition explains that economics is social science, that the resources are limited in supply, and then the wants that human beings, things that they need or desire, is many as against the resources of the person, and therefore resources are limited and then the wants are many. So we need to prioritize what we have in order to make a good choice or satisfaction concerning our limited resources. So one of the terminologies that Lord Robinson uses in his definition, he says human behavior. He gave that the human behavior in the definition, which means that the study of the actions and inactions of the people to exchange in the economic variables like price, inflation, and then the exchange rate. He also talk about the ends. What the meaning of ends, or as is used in the definition. Ends is the same as what the wants. The ends are the needs, goals, and the desires. And then the circumstances of the people that are many and cannot all be met. That is why we're saying that human wants are insatiable. Insatiable in the sense that we cannot, if you get this, you need another thing. It means that human wants are unlimited. So if human wants are unlimited and then the resources to cater for this unlimited wants is limited, then we need to do a proper way of analyzing the economics and how to, in order to satisfy our numerous wants. So hence, we are saying that many, which is the needs and wants and desires, and then the goals of the people. And then if we are talking about the means they are resources which human wants are obtained. Human wants are obtained. They include food, equipment, time, etc., which are limited in supply relative to the demand for them. It is limited in supply relative to demand for them. is what? Limited, but our wants are many. Then also talk about the alternative uses. That is, economic resources have alternative uses if they can be used to satisfy one or another. We see, if you have the resources, now we cannot put all our resources in one product or production where you are making losses, but still you are putting your resources over there. Since the resources have alternative uses, then we can channel the resources that we have to any venture that will give us what? A good result or satisfaction or profit. Then we also have what we call the scarcity. Scarcity refers to inadequacy of economic resources relative to the demand for them to satisfy unlimited and competing wants of man. Whilst human wants are unlimited, and then the economic resources to satisfy them are limited in supply. So our wants are many, and then the resources that we need in order to satisfy our numerous wants is also limited. So then we have scarcity of our resources. Then also have problems. Problems in what economic is concerned with the allocating the limited resources of the society among the unlimited and competing wants. So the society, we also have a problem of what? Allocating our scarce resources. Then this relationship between human wants and scarce means explains the concept of what? The scarcity. It explains the concept of what? Scarcity, because human wants are insatiable. Human wants are many. And then the resources that we need to use to satisfy our wants is also what? Limited. Then the solution to the numerous problems that we have, drawing a scale of preference, we're saying that our wants are many, and then the resources that we need in order to cater for our numerous wants is also limited. And therefore, what we need to do is to work to draw a scale of preference. You draw a scale of preference in you prioritize what you have, what you need to get, you prioritize it. Now you prioritize it in order of importance so that the resources available to you, we can use that resources to satisfy our numerous wants. So we need to draw a scale of preference. That is, we draw a preference that is 1 up to, let's say, 5. The items or the things that we need, we prioritize, we list it in order of preference. Below is a hypothetical scale of preference of Queen Julian. So we have items, and then we also have the prices to that items. So we have uniform, which is 16 Ghana cedis, books, which is 8 cedis. Then we also have shoes, and then the school bag, and then the wristwatch. Now we've arranged the items in order of what? Preference. So if you have limited resources, then you can what? Choose. That is the choice making. You can choose among the list. That is the first one, which is the most important thing for the student to get is the uniform. So you need to get the uniform, you need to get the books, and then you also need to get what? The shoes. Now, if you buy all the items, if you have the means to buy all the items, you can buy all the items. But since we don't have the means to buy all the items, then you select from the first, and then when the resources is what? Limited, then you can buy what you want to buy. Then, after making a choice, what we could not purchase or buy is termed as what? The opportunity cost. Now, supposing Queen Julian is able to buy the school uniform, the books, and then the shoes, then the opportunity cost supposed to be the item that he could not what? Buy. That is the opportunity cost. So the opportunity cost is the net best alternative next best alternative for gone when a choice is what? Made. So when a choice is made, then what is left over is termed as the opportunity cost. Why economics is a science and social science? Economics is a science because it adopts scientific methods in its research. Now, we are saying that economics is science. It's not science that we practice in the laboratory, but it's a science that we also use scientific methods in order to prove that what we are saying is correct, or what we are saying is the fact. So we're saying that it adopts scientific methods in research, and it has its own laws. It has its own laws such as the law of demand and then the law of supply. So we have the law of demand, and then we also have the law of supply. It also helps in the identification of the process, formulation of hypothesis, data collection, organization of data and data analysis, generalization or propounding theories, and testing the hypothesis. Then it is also a social science because it studies human aspect, human behavior. The economic, we're saying that it is a science, social science, because it studies an aspect of human behavior. It does not rely on laboratory equipment like test tube and then the cylinders. It ensures training of mind and logical way of thinking about economic problems and that we face. It uses scarce resources wisely to satisfy our unlimited wants. It helps individuals, firms, government to make rational choices from the various economic alternatives. It also helps to make future predictions about the economic and then the trend. Example, inflation, interest rate, and then unemployment. That if you study economics, then you'll be able to know the trend, the inflationary level, interest rate, and then the unemployment level. It also trains the individual to make partial view on things, but make useful suggestions after a proper examination is done on all issues involved. Conditions under which the opportunity cost is zero. So sometimes opportunity cost is zero. Opportunity cost will be zero when the available resources have no alternative uses. When the available resources have no alternative uses. If the resources is designed for only one use, then no sacrifice is made when it is used for that purpose. Then another point, when available resources can satisfy all the listed wants, if we have available resources to buy or to purchase all the items, then opportunity cost is zero. So we're saying that if an individual's resources are enough to satisfy all his listed ones at that given time, then we are saying that opportunity cost is zero. Then when resources are overabundant, and that to acquire one does not lead to the sacrifice of another, then opportunity cost is also zero. Then it will be zero when we experience unemployment of factors of production. How the problem of scarcity is solved. Solved. Now, under scarcity, individuals, government, and then the firm, they face the scarcity of resources. Government faces the scarcity of resources, and then individuals also faces, and then the firm also faces the scarcity problem. Governments are faced with the problem of what? Allocating the state resources among the unlimited and competing wants of the people. So the government will also draw a scale of preference to help them select the wants to be satisfied with the unlimited resources. So the government will draw a scale of preference, and then they choose from the listed wants. They choose from the listed wants the ones to be satisfied with the available resources in making the choice complete. Now, by the individual or the consumer also faces scarcity. Individuals are faced with the problem of allocating their limited income among their unlimited competing wants. They also draw a scale of preference to help them select the best alternative that can satisfy their unlimited wants. Then they choose among the listed ones. When choices are made, alternatives are the opportunity cost of what the wants. Then the firm also, or the producer also faces a problem of scarcity. That is, the firm are faced with the problem of allocating their limited resources among their unlimited and competing ones. They do this by drawing a scale of preference to help them select the most important or want to be satisfied first with the limited resources. Secondly, they choose from the listed ones those to satisfy with the available resources. In making choice, alternatives are forgone. Then we have what we call the money cost, real cost, and then the social cost. Now, if we are talking about the money cost, then we are talking about the actual amount that we use to pay for the commodity, the actual amount that we spend on a particular commodity. For example, if a pomade costs Belinda 40 Ghana cedis, then it is the money cost to Belinda. It means he pays 40 Ghana cedis for the pomade. Then we have another term called the real cost. The real cost is the opportunity cost. The opportunity cost of getting the first one and then leaving the other one. That is the real cost. Now, the real cost is the alternative goods and services forgone by employing the resources in their best alternative uses. Now, for example, if Kofi has 200 Ghana cedis to buy TV set or a mobile phone, and he buys a mobile phone, the money cost of the mobile phone is 200 Ghana cedis. But the real cost of the phone is the TV set which he forgoes. Then the social cost. Social cost is the consequences and then the inconveniences that society suffers due to the activities of a person or a group of persons. Now, for example, we have air pollution, we have deforestation, water pollution, and then land degradation. All these are examples of what social cost. Then we have production possibility concept. Production possibility concept, we are talking about the concept which explains how a country producing two commodities can combine its available resources to produce both commodities more efficiently. So if you are talking about the production possibility concept, then we are talking about how the country will mobilize or marshal all the resources to produce the commodities that we want to produce and that we want to produce. So we have a few examples. We have possibilities, and then we have cocoa production and then oil production. So possibility A, we have cocoa production which is 35 tons and then the oil is 0. It means that if we intend to choose possibility A, then we are saying that we produce or we use all the resources to produce the cocoa and then leaving the oil production 0. That is the possibility A. Then if we go to possibility F, it means that we are using all the available resources and technology to produce 50 barrels of oil and then nothing at all of what? Cocoa production. So option A and option B, it means that we are using all the resources of the state to produce only cocoa. Then in terms of option possibility F, then we are using all the available resources and then the technology to produce only the oil. That is 50 barrels of what? Oil. Then we can also go to possibility B. Possibility B means that we produce 33 tons of what? Cocoa and 10 barrels of oil. It means that we've left some of the cocoa production. We've not produced all the cocoa production. That is why we get some resources left in order to produce 10 barrels of what? Oil. That is possibility B. Possibility C, that is we produce 30 and then the 20 of what? The oil. Then possibility D, we produce 25 and then 30 barrels of what? Oil. Then possibility E, we can also produce 15 tons of cocoa and then 40 barrels of what? The oil. From the table, if Ghana decides to produce only cocoa, she can produce 35 tons of what? Cocoa. However, if she decides to produce some oil, then she has to sacrifice some cocoa production in order to get some available resources left to produce the oil. Production possibility curve. The production possibility curve, we are talking about the maximum combination of the output of two commodities that a nation can produce per period of time with her resources and technology available. That is the meaning of production possibility curve. That is, we use the resources to produce the goods and services that the country needs. Then the other name for PPC, that is production possibility frontier, production possibility boundary, and then the production possibility curve. All these are names given to the PPC, PPF, or PPB. That is production possibility curve, production possibility frontier, production possibility boundary. Then we also have some assumptions. Before we can use the production possibility curve wisely, then there must be an assumption, underlying assumption to that effect. Now the assumptions that we have for the PPC is that the country produce only two goods or only two commodities. That is, we produce either the example that we use cocoa or the oil. That is always we assume that we produce only two commodities. Then the state technology and resources remain unchanged over the period. Then we are saying that the technology and then the resources is what? Constant. Technology and then the resources are constant. So it is not what? Change. Then we're saying that it uses all the resources for the production of two what? Goods. Then PPC is showing scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. Now it shows scarcity of resources. How do we know that PPC shows what? The scarcity of resources. Now this occurs when we are unable to attain the combination beyond the production possibility curve. Now if we draw the curve, then we have some point which is outside the PPF, and then we also have some point within the PPF curve. So we're saying that this occurs when we are unable to attain the combination beyond the production possibility curve. So we expatiate more on that when we have the diagram on the screen. Then a choice is also illustrated that the economy can select only one attainable point on the curve, but not two. Only one attainable point, but not what? Two. Then opportunity cost is exhibited. How does it exhibit it? Now it shows the production of one commodity which can be increased by reducing the production of the other. Now, for example, if you want to produce cocoa and then the oil, now in order to produce more of cocoa, then the production of oil must be reduced. So reduce the production of oil in order to produce more of what? Cocoa. Now, we also have what we call the hypothetical PPC, showing the production, gams, and then the butter. Now, so we have points outside, which is the X, and then the point inside, and then we also have a point which is on the tip of what? On the curve. On the tip of the curve. Now, if we have a point on the PPC within, if you have a point within the PPC, it means that some of the available resources is not what? Fully utilized. It's lying idle. That is why we have point A. Now, if we fully utilize and then the resources is not what? Being idle, then we are supposed to be on the tip of what? The curve. That is point B, point D, and then point what? C. But if it is within, then we're saying that we are not fully, or some of the resources is lying idle. That is why we are at what? Point what? A. Then at point X, now we cannot produce at point X. Now the reason is that we don't have the requisite resources to produce at that point, which is the S, because the available resources, if we fully utilize, we can get up to the tip of what? The curve. That is the point B, point D, and then point C. So point E is unattainable. Unattainable point because we don't have enough resources in order to produce at point what? X. In order to produce at point S. So we can only produce point X. We can only produce point S where we have enough resources. That is production possibility curve. When production outside the PPC, that is point X, is called not feasible or unattainable combination, because I'm saying that available resources cannot be what? Produce the quantity of both product required to attain that what? Combination. Then combination inside the PPC, which is point A is called uneconomical or inefficient combination, because the country cannot produce more of either or both commodities to achieve a higher combination if it uses all its available resources more efficiently. Thus, it is an indication of inefficient uses of what? Resources. Now, we have what we call the law of increasing opportunity cost. The law of increasing opportunity cost. Now, you see that the diagram that we have on our screen, it is what? Concave. It is concave. The curve is what? Concave. It is a concave shape. Why? Because the production possibility frontier curve reflects the law of increasing opportunity cost. Why? Because if you want to produce more, then you need to reduce the other commodity that you produce. That gives the curve, which is what? A concave. As we increase the production of one good, we sacrifice progressively more of the other production. Now, we're saying that we cannot produce point X, which is outside the PPF. Then we can say that we can produce, or we can get to that point, point F, which is unattainable point, we can attain that one where point one, where we have discovery of an improved technology of what? Production. If the country discovers and employs a more efficient techniques of production, it can produce outside its PPC or PPF. Improvement of human resources through education and training. So if labor is well trained and then labor becomes more efficient, then we can also get to what? The X, which is over and above the, which is outside the PPF curve. So we improve human resource through what? Education and training. If the efficiency of the nation's labor force is improved through better training programs, it can produce outside the PPC. Then discovery of improved raw materials. If the country discovers improved inputs of what? Production, it can produce outside the PPF. Now, the factors that causes production inside the curve. Factors that causes production inside what? The curve. When the country is not using all her resources well, then it can what? Produce, and then we get some letters within the PPF curve. When the countries are being mismanaged, if the resources is being mismanaged, then you can find some letters within the PPC. Then when the country is hit by a natural disaster like a flood or bush burning, then in that sense, the resources will be limited and therefore we cannot produce more. Then we will find some letters within the PPF. Note, what we have to note is that the downward sloping of the PPC explains the concept of opportunity cost. It indicates that the country can produce more of either one of the products and then leaving the other one. So we reduce the other commodity in order to what? Increase the production of the other commodity. Now, importance of the concept of PPC or PPF or PPB. Now, PPC emphasizes the consequences of resources lying idle. It shows the maximum quantities of goods that a nation can produce by utilizing all her resources in production. Then PPC also helps countries to appreciate the need to use available resources efficiently. Then it also helps government to know the sacrifices of that they have to make in order to understand other projects. Viewers, in concluding, economics is an interesting subject of which all the students or every person need to study, whether in your home or in school or wherever you find yourself in. Economics is a very interesting subject and it's a living subject. I'm leaving you by saying that economics is what? Science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses, which is being given by Professor Lionel Robbins, which is the most acceptable definition for the economics in terms of intellectual discussions. That is the most acceptable definition. So you need to get the insight of what economics so that we can live very well what we want to do, whether in home, in school, or whatever we find ourselves in.